Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have the Ibanez Road Master II on the bench again. We are buttoning up the control cavity. We're soldering all the pots together and the pickups and all the fun that goes along with that. Hopefully we're going to have a success at the end of this. I'm going to walk you through what we've done so far. Let's get to work. And what we still have to do. So I'm going to show you a quick close-up. I know I showed you the control cavity before and what it looked like, and now it is starting to look a little better. It was just a glopped up mess before, and you can't have that. It's got to be neat. When you're soldering stuff like this together, neatness counts, and you have to go slowly and methodically. Make sure that you have everything labeled, your pickup leads and what have you. That was in the first video. I have the schematic for it, and I always refer to those. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not going to lie to you. Electrical is not my strong suit, but if you pay attention and calmly look at your schematic and go one step at a time. First thing I did was fit everything into the cavity, make sure it looked right in there, spaced out so the knobs fit perfectly on the outside. You don't want to be messing around with that after you've soldered everything. Do it first. We did that in the first video. Then you solder everything that is going to connect each pot together or to ground. The output jack leads, I already have those soldered in, so all I have to do is solder in the output jack on the outside. I put the resistor on. So yeah, I already started to connect the switch. I took the time to scratch first on a surface like on the back of a pot where you're going to solder a ground to it, scratch it a little bit with a small screwdriver, and then put a dollop of solder on there to accept the ground that you're going to put on there. Don't try to heat up the pot and then put it all together. If you tin your wire and first tin the back of the pot at the point you want to put your ground, all you have to do is very lightly put some heat to it, and they connect together perfectly, and it's a good joint. So we're going to do that to this pot and probably to that pot. This is the middle volume and master volume. This is the tone, obviously. That's the one with our resistor, or capacitor, I'm sorry. I called it a resistor twice, capacitor. And I've already took the time to both of them, just like on most all volume pots, your right lug is going to ground directly to the back of the pot. You just bend it over there, scratch it, put some heat to it, and the solder will pull right to the lug as long as you're within a millimeter, close. Or you could take the time to put a jump wire across there. You don't need to do it that way. I have found that if you solder the lug first so that the hole is actually covered in solder and you tin your wire properly, all you have to do is touch the lug and put the wire to it, and when the solder melts, the wire will push right through. And it dries, sets almost instantly, and you've got a perfect joint. And if you have to take it apart, the beauty of that, doing it that way, is if you put a hook and bend it and then solder it, if you have to take that joint apart later on, that little hook is going to give you trouble. If at all possible, do it that way. If you have to put a hook because it won't stay in place, yeah, I understand that. I do it sometimes. I used to do all of them with a hook, and then I realized sometimes you have to take joints back apart, and it's not fun if you have a hook and you tightened it and then soldered it. Makes for a better joint, of course, but I've never had one of those joints, a push-through joint, fail. As I said, neatness counts. Route your wires. Measure carefully so you don't have an extra bundle of wires hanging around in there. Years and years and years and years and years of doing this, teaching certain things as you go along. So I already did the neck pickup. It goes to the right lug of the switch and ground. I took the time to put on the body of the switch 3 solder joints. They're just there, as if you were putting a solder joint on the back of a pot. You do the same thing there. Instead of trying to glob all 3 of the grounds from the pickups to one joint, that's a fail waiting to happen. So let's fire up our solder iron. I'm going to show you the next one we're going to do, which is yeah, we're going to do the middle pickup, and that's a reverse polarity pickup where the red lead goes to the middle lug of the middle volume, and then the white and bare, in this case, I'm going to solder those together, and the red goes there, and the white and the bare go to ground. It's a reverse polarity. That's the only one that's like that. So let me pause. I'm going to pause briefly while I prep. Make sure I'm on the right one here. I have them labeled. That's the bridge, so this is the middle. I'm going to pause briefly while I prep these and show you how I did it, and then we're going to tin them, and then we're going to solder them in the cavity. Stand by. Okay, so I'm getting ready to tin our leads, and this is what I was talking about. When you are going to solder to the back of a pot, scrape it with a small screwdriver and get your solder joint prepared there. First tin your tip, put some heat to it, and now you've got a nice joint there ready to accept our ground, right? That's important, and you'll see why in a second. Tin both leads. It doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. Our white and our bare. You can put a little extra on that one because it's going to go right to the back of the pot, and it will help it create a good joint. So I'm also we're going to refer quickly. We are going to the middle lug of the middle volume pot right here, and I'm going to fill that lug. So all we have to do is push the red lead, heat it, and push the red lead through, and it will create an instant joint. That's going to be the easy part. And I think probably, I hope my head isn't in the way too much. I don't normally show a whole bunch of soldering because it's just such small, meticulous work, as I've said a million times before, but I'm going to show this part of it only. Get all extra stuff away from your lead. Make sure there's no errant ground wires or errant wires that you don't want touching anything out of the way. First one we're going to put in is our red lead to the center lug. All we got to do is heat the lug and push the wire through, and it will hold. Assuming there was enough solder on it, which there wasn't. Okay. More on there this time. Try it again. There we go. That one's really giving me a little bit of a trial. I may have to start over again. It doesn't seem to want to join. That should have got it. I think there might have been something on that lug that isn't allowing the solder to adhere. Oh, there we go. Okay, now we got a good joint. The ground is a little bit easier. All we have to do is hold it on there with a little screwdriver. And hit it with the solder. Usually it will join right together. Just like that. Check your joints. I don't like that one. I don't like the way it looks. It's got a really good joint, but I don't like the way it looks. Did not get on top of my solder, and that's what I don't like. Let's try this a different way. Of course, every other one that I did before I started filming went perfectly smoothly. This one's going to give me trouble. Because I want to move it over. That's what I want to do. Get it right on the joint. It's really fighting me, this one. There we go. There we go. It is possible. It is 100% possible that not enough heat is transferring. Always check your joint, tug on it, and it should look silver, like a shiny quarter. And if it does, usually 99% of the time you got a good joint. Right there. That's the one we just did. Nice clean. Right, and the wire is out of the way and down to the side of the pot. You don't want it hanging out in the middle where it's in the way, because you still have more soldering to do. And it helps for maintenance or later repairs if we have to. You know, neatness counts in this stuff. Neatness counts. Very good joints, very solid, no carbon. Nice silvery. Yeah, I like it. It's all good. I'm going to pause briefly while I move on to the next step. We have one more pickup to solder, and then we're gonna do a tap test. So stand by. Okay, so pretty good. We got a success. Now I don't have the pickups are kind of wonky and wobbling around a little bit. I think one of the screws maybe didn't catch, but we got good. That's the neck pickup. This is the middle position, which should be all three pickups. And then the bridge. The middle pickup kind of picks up a little bit in both positions for the neck and the bridge. It must be some sort of a split coil thing because it had a reverse polarity. Pretty interesting setup. I'm gonna call it a success. You can see the wiring is all complete. Some of it's sticking out. I still have to just push and tug, and I have one shrink wrap on there. I had to run a better wire. There was like a paper clip ground from the trim claw that only was long enough to go to the master volume pot, and I was getting an incredible amount of ground noise. I took that out. I chucked the thing away. It was just a piece of paper clip bare wire. So I went over to the tone pot, which is where it should be grounded. That's where our output jack goes in and grounds to. And I common grounded the neck and center pickup and went to the tone pot. Eliminated, well, I ran a good cloth wire for the main ground over to the tone pot. That eliminated all the ground noise, and these did not like being grounded to the switch box. Sometimes that happens. I've seen it before. You never know what you're going to run into with this kind of thing. I'm going to tuck wires. I'm going to put the cover back on, and then we're going to change out we're going to go to the physical body work of it, get the pickups fastened back in correctly so that we can adjust them during the setup, and we're going to set it as a floating bridge. I don't know why that center spring is not down in there. I have found all sorts of problems with this guitar. It was not a very good build process, but I think that's why it ended up on my bench. So we're going to proceed and get it strung up and do a setup. I'm going to try to get all that in this video. Stand by. So I can't begin to tell you the major league pain in the butt this guitar has been. It was not just a rewire. It was basically a rebuild. It was left to languish because it couldn't get put back together completely. So anyway, I digress. We are at the point where we're going to start doing the setup. I've restrung it. I have found equilibrium already here because that takes a long time. I didn't want to burn up a whole bunch of video time on that. So let's check the neck relief as we always do and see where we're at. It's a little too loose. Let's tighten it up slightly. I checked this. It's stiff and sticky, but it is moving. But it doesn't like to. It doesn't want to. You really have to coax it. Yeah, it's not. I mean, really, I should pull that all the way out and lube it, but I've done so much work on this guitar that it's killing me. I just want to get it to the point where it's playable. Other work and adjustments can be made later. Yeah, follow. It's starting to respond, and I'm getting a good float on the bridge. I think I might need a little more spring tension. I'm gonna roll with that. That's not too bad. It might be a little too tight, but we do have relief in it, and it is measuring. It's starting to become stable. And that's what we want, because we do have a floater here. Yep. Very nice. It liked that adjustment, and we've got a nice. The tail is sticking up a little bit more than I would like. I'd like to see it level with this kind of route, but I'm going to leave it and let it settle. But what we are going to do is see what it sounds like. Yeah. I'm pretty confident we're going to be happy with this. This is not the right whammy bar for this, so excuse the length and that it's wobbling around a lot. into tune. Neck. All three. Bridge. Kind of a weird configuration, but it's a stable guitar. It's back to breathing life again, and that's really all I was after. I started off, telling the guy, yeah, sure, we'll get it wired up for you, but it turned out to be a lot more than that. There was all kind. I had to put all new. He wanted to save all of the electronics, and there was no way to do that. They were just burned and fried. I took everything out and started fresh. 3 new pots, new selector switch. I tightened all the gear on it. I even put new neck bolts in it. The heads were all stripped out. I can't give a guitar back like that. But everything's working. The last little thing I'm going to adjust on it is, yikes. The only one I got right was the middle and the bridge. And oh, that one's okay. That one's okay. That one's too far away. So yeah, this is all part of a setup. This one's got to go way down. Don't want your strings banging on the pickups. Yeah, and this was, by the way, all mismatching hardware everywhere. I even plugged all the holes here with dowel and then re-drilled them just to put a good, so the cover stays on. And of course, had to put all new hardware. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get into. I mean, I know this guy, and I think this guitar has been languishing because either he didn't know how to finish it and put it back together, or whoever worked on it before for him did not do a good job. I'm going to call the soldering and wiring in this guitar an epic fail when I got it. We took it completely apart and started from fresh, and sometimes that's what you have to do if you're going to get it to play correctly. This guitar is ready to rock again. As a sidebar, the weirdness of all weirdness, I was watching TV last night, and what was on? Back to the Future, and Michael J. Fox was auditioning his band for his high school, and Huey Lewis was one of the judges. You guys all know this scene, and he was playing this guitar. I never noticed that before, but how ironic that this guitar is on my bench, and I happened to watch that movie last night. It was on TV. I didn't choose to watch that movie. I just happened to be clicking through, and I watched about 10 minutes of the movie, and it was that scene. So, I digress. But ironies of all ironies, yeah, Ibanez Road Star II, it's ready to rock. It's Blackjack with 396 guitars. Thanks for hanging in there. Thank you so much, everybody, for your support, watching the videos, commenting. I try to read all the comments. I try to respond, but I do appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.